Okay, welcome back to our pretty basic live stream at the People's Basic Network. I'm John Munitz. Today is March 11th, and in today's episode, we're going to be covering the platform of New York City mayoral candidate Loree Sutton. She is the second to last candidate that we have to cover in our series. Tomorrow, we'll be covering Carlos Menchaca. We've covered all of the ton of candidates in the race. So please go check out the playlist that we've created that lets you see all of the New York City mayoral candidates' platforms being reviewed. Please make sure to join the conversation in our live chat today and ask any questions that you have along the way that we'll be periodically checking throughout the episode, usually in between different policy section reviews. Also, please consider liking and subscribing to our content today if you enjoy what you're watching. It really helps us with the algorithm gods. If you want to find even more content from our network and more information from today's episode, check the description section down below. But without any further ado, my good people out there, let's get into today's subject of covering Loree Sutton's mayoral platform. Okay, so let's go in. So Loree Sutton is, as we will see here, a person who has been largely in charge of Veterans Affairs for New York City. So as she writes here, Loree Sutton is a lifelong public servant and a retired brigadier general who, as the Army's highest-ranking psychiatrist and commissioner of New York City's Department of Veteran Services, has devoted 35 years of service to the nation in New York. Loree's decorated Army career includes earning a Bronze Star for her actions in combat while deployed to Operation Desert Storm. Selected as White House Fellow, the nation's premier leadership program, Sutton also commanded the Carl R. Denali Army Medical Center at Fort Hood, Texas, during the height of Operation Iraqi Freedom hostilities. Serving as the founding director of the Defense Centers of Excellence for Psychological Health and Traumatic Brain Injury, Loree's visionary leadership yielded transformational change for generations to come. In New York City, Loree served as the founding commissioner for New York City's Department of Veteran Services. Under Sutton's leadership, DVS, the nation's first municipal agency devoted solely to improving the lives of veterans and their families, pioneered numerous groundbreaking policy and innovative program successes. Select DVS actions include achieving a 90% decrease in veteran homelessness, establishing veterans as a protected class in New York City human rights law, and pioneering the city's first social impact bond for veteran employment. I do wonder about why they need to have this part, but the rest sounds nice there. Like why are they a special protected group of people? I get that we want to serve them and provide benefits to them and make sure that we're investing to make sure they're taken care of, but I don't know. This is usually reserved for things that people had no choice in, that kind of protected class in human rights law. So things like, race, gender, things you're born with. So I don't know about that one. But the rest is fine. Loree's campaign for mayor launched in November of 2019, fueled by her conviction that New York City faces challenges which exceed the capacity of politics as usual to lift up all New Yorkers and lead our city forward. She passionately believes there's nothing wrong with New York that cannot be fixed with what's right with New York. And that's all of us working together now. Married to Lori Leach, Lori is a stepmother to Lori's two children, Chris and Lindsay, and cherishes their two grandsons. They share their home with beloved pop Moxie and forever proud New Yorkers. So yeah, I mean, this is basically her whole experience is all about doing veteran services and having previously served veterans even while in the forces. So that's her real background. You're going to notice today's episode is on the shorter side compared to some of our other candidates. Loree has less on her page. Let's just put it that way. And to be fair, she may be a lovely woman helping veterans, a lesbian who has helped them with their psychiatrics, getting housing services, what have you. But she is not currently all that super competitive anymore. Like, we included her as a separate carve out because at the time of the polling, she was around like that 2% mark, but now we're getting closer to the 1% and sub 1% range. So yeah, I'll cover it anyway, but yeah, this will be a pretty short review. So she says she's running to serve as New York City mayor to lift up all New Yorkers and to lead forward during this time of unprecedented suffering and upheaval. Given what we know, we must act differently, lest we repeat the negligence that got us here. It's time for bold leadership, relentless preparation, and moral courage. A commitment to truth, rights, values, and principles inform my broad policy agenda. Lifting up others and leading forward, it's not merely what I do, it's who I am. I mean, it doesn't really tell us anything there. That's an opening statement. These should be more telling. Goals. She wants respect, value, and honor of all New Yorkers in the dogged pursuit of inclusive growth. Forge open pathways for all New Yorkers who seek to gain marketable career skills. Tirelessly work together with all New Yorkers and city agencies to restore public safety. Create a bold culture of fearless moxie which embodies and lifts up all New Yorkers. Invest in public health, care for the mentally ill, and holistic well-being for all New Yorkers. So respect, forge. Like, I don't get why forge and create are there. Forge and create are very similar words. And like, why is tirelessly? Like, the other ones are like verbs, and then you have an adverb there. So that doesn't make sense. Values, honor, honesty, fairness, and integrity in all actions, empathy, the ability to understand how others feel, accountability, to take responsibility for one's action, respect, to be considerate and embrace diversity, teamwork, to work together towards a shared goal. So, heart. Yeah, I mean, these are all fine. They don't really tell us much. Like, if you told me here, like, a value statement is like universalism or community stakeholdership, like, I guess that's kind of in teamwork a little bit. But it's like a lot of these things, it just doesn't tell us anything. Like, legitimately, it just doesn't tell us anything. So 2 for 2, I don't feel like it's a ton of things that are important. Like, I guess the only things that I would say here that are frankly maybe noteworthy is just a holistic focus on mental health and public health in general. But I feel like that should be pretty obvious. But again, I guess she'll have diversity in her admin. It'll listen and it'll recognize. Okay, I mean, this is, I guess, the most substantive part. It's like we'll commit to having diversity in our actual, like, hired positions, and then they'll listen to community stakeholderships. But let's go into the broad policy agenda. So she wants to foster sustainable economic development and recovery, leading with actions to strengthen workers, families, and small businesses. Sounds good. Act to contain, mitigate, and prevent the increasingly disruptive threats by climate disruption. Agreed. I had seen recent reporting, frankly, out of the Biden admin saying that they thought by the end of the century, we should expect like a decline in our population, like getting cut in half. So yeah, I would like to mitigate that damage. Reimagine K-12 education focused on quality in-class education and supplemented by enhanced technology. So why is it just K-12? Like, I mean, I guess this is important. Don't get me wrong. Like, we do need to improve K-12. But like, I'm surprised she's calling out just that and not just doing like a reimagine like childhood education and then trying to expand to like pre-K as well. We'll see if she actually has it in the less broad and more specific policy agenda. She also wants to develop affordable housing in all neighborhoods for individuals/families who are facing homelessness, strengthen our sanctuary city while advocating for comprehensive immigration reform, and establish a national, regional, public, private, and community partnerships to modernize NYC transit. So my first impression is that she's just going to be a bit too moderate for my own taste. I mean, hell, I mean, she's going to be leading. When you're leading on experience from Veterans Affairs, you generally tend to be a little bit more moderate in nature. With a lot of policies for some reason. I don't get why, because a lot of these veterans would help from these big, bold, progressive policies, but they're always just generally moderate people. And like you could tell from here, like this is not looking for municipal control. They're looking to do other partnerships to modernize. This was like only K-12, access to whole healthcare. Like this is not like addressing necessarily the cost. Let's see where we go from here, as she says. What do we got to do? So this is the end of her platform. So these are the specific policies. So we can become the global tech hub, leveraging talent and investing in our people. Truly, New York's most valuable natural resource to close the digital divide and set the conditions for entrepreneurship, innovation, creativity, and prosperity. This doesn't say like really anything other than I guess it is a focus on tech. Like it just doesn't say like how are you going to do that investment? We can enlist teachers, students, families, and communities to prepare for our youth for civic purpose and service to others. Let's start with a citywide internet access and educational learning devices for all at community resource hubs to connect families with career guidance, mentorship, and strength-based learning strategies. This is actually something specific we can dive our teeth into. This is basically trying to expand broadband to all. Again, how? I'd love to know, but it's a good thing that we need to do, as I think 12% of New Yorkers are without broadband internet. And likewise, trying to expand educational learning devices to all also makes a lot of sense to me, because if you're going to move to a mobile education model, you have to make sure that everyone has the necessary devices. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And then likewise, you need to be making sure that we're not just giving people just books and just tablets and that. They need people who actually provide guidance and mentorship, as she clearly says here, to help people really advance in their own desired career paths. Next, we can bridge differences in political views, religious convictions, and life experiences to celebrate our shared humanity, all ages, all genders, all faith, all races, all national origins, all disabilities, and all relational orientations. Love is love. Yeah, that doesn't say much, but it is just an inclusivity statement. Like, frankly, this is something that should be going up here. Like, that is where that goes. That should be here in the principle section. It's not policy. That's a principle. Bridging political views, religious convictions, etc. Next, we can respect the strength and needs of working families by gauging the ethical value and moral nature of our actions based on how families will be affected. Let's start with affordable childcare, safe workplaces, career development, and housing. All good things. All would love more details on of what that means. We can serve as a laboratory, incubating, learning, and leading New York's Green New Deal, investing in green jobs, technologies, infrastructure, and renewable energy sources while easing burdensome regulations, incentivizing public-private partnerships, and implementing a carbon dividend program to remunerate New Yorkers based upon our success. This is a big one, actually. I really like that she's actually willing to implement a carbon dividend into her plan. Like, this is one of those things where I actually wonder, like, why Andrew Yang, who ran on a carbon dividend on his presidential platform, didn't also propose just a local carbon tax, or like have a section kind of like Sean Donovan had on like what are you going to advocate from the federal government? Like, what are you going to go get from them? Like, do you want them to have Sean had that, and Maya Wiley also had a page like that of what they wanted to advocate for to the state. Like, this could be something that they do instead, but you need to call that out. And to Loree's credit, this is good. This is what we need to do on climate change. It's obviously not super detailed, but these are what we need to be doing. We can restore our public housing, once the envy of the nation, restoring pride and dignity. Sure, this is just, again, a value statement of what we need to be doing. Fixing NYCHA. We've seen a ton of plans on how to do that. It is definitely important. We can design and implement a comprehensive system which invests in the potential of every homeless New Yorker and provides access to permanent housing, social services, healthcare, education, and transitional employment. That's good. I mean, we need to be making sure that everyone gets into these permanent situations, but we also need to continue to invest in the transitionary stuff too. So yeah, I fully agree with this notion though. We can transform our criminal legal system, working to design an approach characterized by fair and effective justice, public safety, community diversion, and rehabilitation and strong reentry and restoration of voting rights. Okay, so this is it's saying how we need the balance. And it needs to be effective and accountable. And I mean, yes, this is all true, but I'd love the details of what does that balance actually look like? How do we do accountability? I also agree we need to be focusing on getting people back incorporated into society when they've been pulled away for a while. We can move forward to understanding how understanding of marijuana may be legalized contingent upon ensuring necessary public health and safety provisions. Immediate actions should include decriminalizing personal use and possession of small amounts, expunging all related legal records, commuting existing sentences, and facilitating research by removing marijuana from the federal Schedule 1 drug list. I think there's been enough study. I mean, I guess, yeah, you want to make sure it's being done equitably and still in a safe manner when you're doing any form of like a new small business, and especially with drug sales. But I think this is just something you go forward with. And I mean, it's good. It does seem like she wants to just move forward to full legalization, but like knows that we have to work with the federal level too in achieving that. So that's another good one. We can work with our state and regional partners to create an infrastructure strategy and sustainable transit system, the backbone of our city that works for all of us. We can serve as a sanctuary for undocumented neighbors while tirelessly advocating for comprehensive immigration reform for the 21st century, starting with the renewing the dreams of our DACA youth and establishing pathways to citizenship for those whose labor are essential to our city's success. So both of these things are pretty, again, like this is something I'm unfortunately going to have to say a lot. Like it's just, I need the details of what that means, but she has a lot of like good priorities. It's just like, it's the technical execution that matters a lot. And I fully agree. Like we should be getting pathways to citizenship for all of our undocumented immigrants, all of them. Like we should be helping people get like legal residency at a bare minimum and then have like immediately and then have them go on the path that may take frankly like 10 years to acquire citizenship. And citizenship should have the extra value of voting power, while residency, permanent residency, should get you all of the normal economic benefits that you are entitled to in the area. So I think we need to be doing that. And I think we have to stop saying that we're going to provide all of these benefits to people who have not established permanent residency and are undocumented immigrants. But if you have things like an NYC ID that proves that you are a permanent resident and it's just simply your sponsorship ended, your visa sponsorship ended, and you're now staying here over that stay, yeah, we should be not penalizing you. You have permanent residency already established through that ID. So that's how I think we should be addressing that. Next, we can build on our city's commitment for providing access to timely, quality healthcare as a right for all New Yorkers. Public health, however, is much broader than healthcare and includes prevention of gun violence, intimate partner abuse, smoking cessation, addiction, sanitation, and more. We must also improve upon how we prepare, plan, and practice our disaster preparedness efforts to synchronize with the myriad needs, including essential worker protection, medical equipment, supply chain management, shelter, nutrition, therapeutics, tiered phases, and care facilities. As this pandemic reminds us, there is no health without public health. This is a weird statement. Kind of. I mean, this is like a duh. Like, I mean, if the public is unhealthy, then there's no health. I mean, duh. But I mean, overall, I like this as a holistic sense of what health really means. And so I guess this statement is just saying like, we think about health as our like body and healthcare, and they're saying, oh, but no, but public health is much more than that. These are all very needed. We know from, smoking causes more chronic illness. Nutrition can cause more chronic illness. We have constant trauma that can come from violence, whether that be domestic abuse or gun violence. We know that we need to have things to be able to address these things during moments of crisis. So we need to have a secured supply chain. She's right. It's a very holistic thing. Which I think this is frankly the most impressive thing that she's had on her whole page so far, is just showing she understands what really it means to be like intersectional on health. We can restore trust between communities and law enforcement through greater transparency, focused training, community engagement, neighborhood outreach, and the proven use of theater as a revolutionary public health intervention to cultivate conversations, connections, and collaboration that wouldn't otherwise happen. I mean, yeah, okay. So this is just making sure that we talk more often, um, and that we provide open opportunity for people to comment. We can reach and provide care for those who are depressed and despondent, whose suffering may drive them to addiction and deaths of despair, whether by intention or access. Again, this doesn't tell me exactly what that means. Obviously, this would be a good thing, though. Like, does this mean like free mental health services? Is it only for people who think they have that, or can it expand to things like marriage counseling and other forms of therapy that people might need who aren't necessarily mentally unwell, but are just dealing with stress and just need to talk through an issue, maybe like even addiction too. Um, yeah, so we can lift up support of our small business owners, truly New York's heart and soul to sustain the restaurants. But like this says nothing. It's just saying like we got to think about them, but it says nothing. Working together, we can do more, much more. Inspired by Project Liberty following 9/11, we can envision, design, and implement Project Grit as a bottom-up, community-driven, and values-based campaign aimed at mobilizing New Yorkers to revise and renew our social compact. Everything we need already exists in the strengths of our city and ourselves, coupled with committed leadership. This again says very little. Yeah, like I guess this is just how do you get people more politically engaged? And I feel like that's just by your simple form of leadership. I mean, I guess you're saying it's working off this Project Grit, which I think I've heard a minor amount about, like, but I don't want to comment on it because I could totally get it wrong. I like from what I think it was like this testing thing that was basically a replacement for like forms of test, like standardized testing, like the SAT. But I could be totally thinking of a different grit-based project. So let me move on. Together, they'll lift everyone up from the pandemic, a community of many voices. Again, this is again the same diversity statement they made before. This says nothing. And then follow the campaign. So that's everything we got on Loree Sutton. Please let me know if you got any final questions that you want to ask. Otherwise, we're going to be back here tomorrow at 11 with another breakdown of a policy platform. It'll be our last policy platform of the New York City mayoral race. We will be covering Carlos Menchaca. So everyone will be back at 11 a.m. Eastern time for that. Again, we're going to be doing Monday to usually Thursday, but we're trying to just wrap up this series of New York City candidates. So we're going to be doing a Friday episode tomorrow. But usually Monday to Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, we'll be back with new interviews. And we're going to be trying to start a new series where we're going to be just talking to regular folks like you out there about, what do you think the role of government is? What is its basic responsibility? So if you're looking to join on that, go check me out on Twitter at John Munitz. You'll be able to find a link to that Calendly link to be able to sign up for an interview. And also check our link tree, which includes all of our links to all of our content, social media, and our Discord community. That being said, my friends out there, this has been our pretty basic live stream. If you did enjoy the episode, make sure you've liked and subscribed as well. And, in this toxic world, I hope you guys are staying basic out there and helping spread the love. Because, Loree emphasized that. And I'll say this. My final impression of Loree, and I'll leave on this note, she reminds me of a little bit more of a moderate, more like toughened. Maybe that's not the wrong word. More, yeah, I'll go with toughened. Like she reminds me, she has a vibe like Marianne Williamson. I got that a lot in her platform with the constant reemphasis of love. And frankly, even some of the priorities in her campaign, I thought were very kind of Marianne-esque. But I think it's like, imagine what would happen if Marianne Williamson suddenly became like deeply involved in the military and veterans affairs. But yeah, with that being said, everyone, check the description, go check the link tree, go check me out on social media at John Munitz and get a hold of our Calendly link so you can come onto the program and talk. And that being said, everyone, I hope you all have a great day and that you all stay